I was banned to my wife's sister's housewarming party until I apologized. So I quietly canceled the mortgage payment I'd been making for a year. Karma is a bitch. You ever have one of those days where the universe decides you're its personal punching bag? Yeah, Tuesday was giving me those vibes hard. I'm talking about the kind of Tuesday that makes you question every life choice that led you to this exact moment. Sitting in a beige cubicle that smelled like desperation and whatever Frank from accounting microwaved for lunch. Spoiler alert, it was fish. It's always fish with Frank. I was knee-deep in spreadsheets, living my best corporate drone life, trying to make sense of numbers that stopped making sense around 10 a.m. The fluorescent lights hummed above me like they were plotting my demise, and the espresso machine in the break room had already burned me twice. I'm pretty sure that thing was sentient and held a personal grudge against me. Every time I walked past it, I swear I could hear it whisper, "Try me again, Leo. I dare you." My biggest accomplishment of the day? Successfully balancing a quarterly report without falling asleep on my keyboard. The bar was low, folks. Real low. I was just starting to hit that sweet spot of afternoon productivity. You know, that magical 30-minute window where you actually feel like a functioning adult. When my phone started buzzing on my desk, the screen lit up with two words that made my stomach drop faster than the office elevator during a fire drill. Mother-in-law. Now, let me paint you a picture. My mother-in-law, Patricia, or as I like to call her in my head, the ice queen of passive-aggressive comments, wasn't the type to call just to chat. Oh no, when Patricia called, it meant someone had committed a crime against the family. And guess what? The perp was usually me. I could already feel my blood pressure spiking, and I hadn't even answered yet. I stared at my phone like it was a bomb about to detonate. Sarah, my co-worker in the next cubicle, peeked over the divider with her nosy little grin. You gonna answer that? Or are we doing a staring contest with your phone? That's my mother-in-law, I said, like that explained everything. Sarah's eyes went wide. Oh damn. Thoughts and prayers, buddy. She disappeared back behind her cubicle wall faster than a prairie dog spotting a hawk. I took a deep breath, said a little prayer to whatever deity handles in-law disputes, and answered. Hello, Leo. Her voice came through the speaker colder than a tax audit, sharper than my electric bill after Haley discovered online shopping. There was zero warmth, zero pleasantries, just straight to the execution. We need to talk. Oh, here we go. I leaned back in my chair, which squeaked loud enough to make Frank look up from his spreadsheet dungeon. Sure, Patricia. What's up? I tried to sound casual, like I wasn't already mentally preparing my defense for whatever crime I'd apparently committed. You're not invited to Nora's housewarming party this Saturday. I blinked. Once. Twice. Waited for the punchline. I'm sorry, what? You heard me. Not until you apologized to her for what you said at dinner last month. Her tone was the verbal equivalent of a judge banging a gavel. Case closed. Leo guilty. No appeals. I sat up straighter, my brain scrambling to figure out what the hell I'd said at dinner. I'd asked Nora about her designer handbag situation. A completely reasonable question considering her brand was about as profitable as a lemonade stand in a snowstorm. Since when was basic financial literacy a crime? Apologize for what exactly? I asked, trying to keep my voice level. Around me, the office continued its mundane symphony. Keyboards clicking, phones ringing, Frank sighing dramatically at his computer screen. For embarrassing her. For being cruel. And that's when I heard it. In the background of Patricia's call, crystal clear like a studio recording. Laughter. Not just any laughter, my wife's laughter. Haley's signature giggle, the one that usually meant she was watching fail videos on YouTube or someone was getting roasted in the family group chat. That someone, apparently, was me. They were all there. I could hear them. My wife, her mom, probably her dad too. All having a grand old time discussing my banishment like I was some peasant who'd insulted the royal family. This wasn't a private call. This was a performance. I was the main character in their comedy show, and I hadn't even auditioned for the role. You've got to be kidding me, I muttered. Excuse me. Patricia's voice sharpened even more, which I didn't think was physically possible. Nothing. So let me get this straight. I'm banned from a housewarming party because I asked a legitimate question about Nora's finances. You made her cry, Leo. You made her feel small. Made her feel small. I made her feel small. The woman who posted daily stories about her luxury lifestyle and manifestation journey felt small because I pointed out that designer bags don't pay for themselves. The cognitive dissonance was giving me whiplash. Patricia, I was just. No excuses. Either apologize or don't bother showing up. I heard more laughter in the background. Someone, probably Haley's dad, Richard, said something I couldn't quite make out, and they all cracked up like it was open mic night at the comedy club, and I was the hack who bombed on stage. Here's the thing about that moment. That exact moment when I heard them laughing at me like I was the punchline to their inside joke. Something inside me just clicked. Not snapped, not broke, clicked. Like a light switch flipping from off to on, illuminating a room I didn't even know existed. Because here's what they didn't know. Here's the beautiful, ironic, absolutely hilarious thing that they were completely oblivious to while they giggled and sipped their wine and planned their fancy little party. I'd been paying Nora's mortgage for the past year. Every single month. That dream house she loved posting about on Instagram with captions like blessed and hard work pays off, and my personal favorite, built this empire from scratch. Yeah, scratch was spelled L-E-O. The down payment that made her homeownership possible? My savings account. The monthly mortgage that kept a roof over her influencer aspirations? My bank transfers. While they toasted Nora's success and her independence and her girl boss energy, I was the one making sure the bank didn't come knocking. I was the silent investor in the Nora show, and apparently, my dividend was getting banned from the viewing party. You know what, Patricia? I said, and I could hear the change in my own voice. Calmer, cooler, like I'd just figured out the answer to a really complicated puzzle. I'll think about it. You'll think about it. She sounded offended that I didn't immediately grovel. Yeah, I'll think real hard about that apology. Have a great day. I hung up before she could respond, and I gotta say, it felt pretty damn good. Sarah's head popped back over the cubicle. Dude, you okay? You look weird. I'm fantastic, I said, and I meant it. Actually, Sarah, I'm better than fantastic. I just had an epiphany. Those are either really good or really bad. Which one is this? I smiled. Not a happy smile, not a sad smile, but something in between. Something that tasted like justice and felt like freedom. I'll let you know. That call didn't just annoy me. It didn't just ruin my Tuesday or hurt my feelings. No, that call did something way more dangerous. It flipped a switch I didn't even know I had. And buddy, once that switch flips, there's no going back. Let me take you back about a year before that delightful phone call from Patricia. Picture this. I'm sitting on my couch on a Saturday morning, living my best lazy weekend life. Coffee in hand, basketball game on TV, wearing sweatpants that had seen better days. You know, peak male contentment. Haley was at some brunch thing with her girlfriends, probably Instagramming avocado toast like it was a religious experience, and I had the whole place to myself. Life was good. Life was simple. Life was about to get incredibly expensive. My phone rang. Nora's face popped up on the screen. One of those selfies where she's doing that influencer head tilt thing that apparently makes everyone look more authentic. I should have known right then that answering that call was going to cost me. Should have let it go to voicemail. Should have pretended I was dead. But no, I'm a good brother-in-law, so I answered like an idiot. Hey, Nora, what's up? Sobbing. Immediate, dramatic sobbing that sounded like someone had just told her Instagram was shutting down forever. Leo, she choked out between gasps. I need to talk to you about something really important. I sat up straighter, my heart rate picking up. Was she okay? Was someone hurt? Did something terrible happen? My mind raced through worst-case scenarios. What's wrong? Are you all right? I found it, Leo. I found the house. I blinked at the TV, watching some dude miss a free throw. You found a house? My dream house. More sobbing. But now I realized these weren't sad tears. These were those weird, happy crying tears that women do when they're overwhelmed with emotion. It's perfect, Leo. It's absolutely perfect. The kitchen has marble countertops. Real marble, not that fake stuff. And there's this backsplash that's like art. Like actual art. And the backyard. She paused for dramatic effect. The backyard is literally perfect for content. The lighting is amazing. I could shoot there every day. There it was. The backyard was perfect for content. Not for, relaxing or barbecuing or playing with future kids or any normal human activity. No, the primary function of this backyard was Instagram stories. That's great, I said, still not understanding why this required a crying phone call to me specifically. So you're buying a house? That's a big step. Congratulations. Well, here's the thing. Her voice shifted, got a little quieter, a little more calculated. I should have recognized that tone. That was the tone of someone about to ask for money. The seller accepted my offer, but I need to close in like 3 weeks, and my loan officer said there's some issues with my application. What kind of issues? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Nora's relationship with money was like a tornado's relationship with a trailer park, destructive and completely predictable. Something about my credit score and my income-to-debt ratio. He used a lot of big words that didn't make sense. But Leo, I need this house. It's meant to be. I've been manifesting it for months. Ah yes, manifestation. That magical thinking that convinced an entire generation that wanting something really badly was the same as earning it. I tried manifesting $1 million once. Spoiler alert, my bank account remained tragically unmanifested. Nora, if the bank won't approve you, maybe it's a sign that you should wait until. I can't wait. Someone else will buy it. Leo, please, I just need help with the down payment. Once I close, I can handle the mortgage myself. My brand is about to blow up. I can feel it. I'm this close to landing a huge sponsorship deal. Let me translate that for you. I have no actual income, but I'm really good at taking pictures of coffee cups, so surely money will just appear. I should have said no. Any rational person would have said no. But then she hit me with the combo move that's defeated men since the beginning of time. Can I talk to Haley about this? She'll understand. And just like that, I knew I was screwed. Because Haley, my beautiful, wonderful, financially illiterate wife, had a soft spot for her little sister the size of Texas. Nora could have asked Haley for a kidney, and Haley would have been Googling how to donate organs before I could say, maybe we should think about this. Let me talk to Haley first, I said, trying to buy myself some time to figure out how to navigate this minefield. Thank you, Leo. Thank you so much. You're literally the best brother-in-law ever. She hung up, probably to go take pictures of herself crying tears of joy in her car. That's a thing influencers do, right? Monetize their emotions? When Haley got home from brunch, she was already on a mission. Nora had clearly called her immediately after our conversation, which meant I was about to get tag-teamed. I was still on the couch, but now I was watching the post-game interviews and mentally calculating how much money we had in savings. Babe, Haley bounced into the living room with that energy that meant she was about to ask for something big. Nora told me about the house. Yeah, she called me. I said carefully, keeping my eyes on the TV like it was the most fascinating thing I'd ever seen. Isn't it exciting? Her first house. She's growing up so fast. Haley plopped down next to me, and I could feel those puppy dog eyes boring into the side of my head. She's just having a little trouble with the down payment. A little trouble? I finally looked at her. Haley, the bank rejected her loan application. That's not a little trouble. That's a red flag the size of Montana. She just needs some help getting started. Once she's in the house, she can build her brand and everything will work out. I love my wife. I really did. But her optimism about her sister's brand was like believing in Santa Claus. Adorable, but fundamentally divorced from reality. Nora's Instagram had like 3,000 followers, half of which were probably bots. Her sponsorships consisted of companies sending her free protein powder in exchange for posts. This was not a viable business model. How much does she need? I asked, already knowing I was going to regret this question. Haley bit her lip. 45,000. I actually laughed. Not a funny laugh. More like a "are you insane" laugh. 45 grand. Haley, that's our house savings. That's the money we've been putting away for our down payment. I know, babe, but she's family. She really needs this. And she promised she'd pay us back once her brand takes off. Her brand? Haley, her brand is posting pictures of smoothie bowls. That's not paying back $45,000. She hit me with the look. You know the one. The look that said I was being the bad guy for applying basic math to a family situation. Leo, she just needs a little help. You have a good job. We can save up again. But this is her chance to really make something of herself. And there it was. The guilt trip wrapped in family obligation, wrapped in the implication that I was being selfish for wanting to use our own savings for our own house. I looked at my wife, her hopeful expression, her genuine belief that this would all work out, and I felt my resolve crumbling like a sandcastle at high tide. She has to pay us back? I said weakly. With interest. Haley squealed and hugged me. Thank you, babe. You're amazing. Nora's going to be so happy. Yeah, Nora was going to be happy. Meanwhile, I watched my dream house fund evaporate faster than my hairline during tax season. I transferred the money that Monday. $45,000, gone in a single click. My savings account looked like a desert. Barren. Empty. Dead. Nora sent me a voice message. OMG, Leo. You're literally my hero. I'm going to pay you back so fast, you won't even believe it. This house is going to change everything. Spoiler alert, the only thing that changed was my bank balance. But hey, at least the backyard had good lighting for content. 3 months after I handed over my life savings like some kind of charitable ATM, I was sitting at my desk doing what I do best, pretending to care about quarterly projections while actually contemplating the meaning of life. Frank had microwave fish again. The universe truly had it out for me. My phone buzzed with a text message. Nora. Of course it was Nora. Hey Leo, quick question. Let me stop you right there. In the history of humanity, nothing good has ever followed the phrase, quick question, from a family member. It's never actually quick, and it's definitely not just a question. It's a trap. A financial trap wrapped in casual language designed to catch you off guard. I stared at those 3 dots indicating she was still typing. My stomach did that thing where it tries to escape through your throat. The mortgage payment is higher than I expected. Like, way higher. I didn't realize there would be property taxes and HOA fees and insurance and all this other stuff. Could you maybe help me out for a bit? Just until my sponsorships come through. Just until her sponsorships come through. Right. And I was just temporarily not a millionaire until my lottery ticket came through. I typed back. How much are we talking? Like $2,500 a month. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's temporary. 2 months max, I promise. $2,500 per month for 2 months. That was $5,000 on top of the 45 I'd already given her. I did the math in my head. That was $50,000 total for a house I would never live in, never own, and apparently never be thanked for. I should have said no. I should have written back, sorry, but you need to figure this out yourself like an actual adult. I should have shown Haley the message and let her deal with her sister's financial catastrophe. But here's the thing about being a people-pleaser married to someone with an enabling complex. You become an enabler by proxy. It's like secondhand smoke, except instead of cancer, you get bankruptcy. Okay, but only for a couple months. OMG, thank you. You're literally saving my life right now. Yeah, I was saving her life while slowly drowning mine. Poetic, really. That first payment of $2,500 hurt, like pulling off a Band-Aid made of fire. I transferred it on the first of the month, watched my checking account drop like the stock market during a recession, and told myself it would be fine. 2 months. I could handle 2 months. Narrator voice. It was not 2 months. Month 4 rolled around, and like clockwork, another text. Hey Leo. So the sponsorship deal fell through, but I have another one in the works that's even bigger. Can you cover just 1 more month? Month 5. The company said they need more time to process the contract. 1 more month. Month 6. You won't believe this, but they went with someone else. So unfair. But I have 3 other brands interested. Just need a little more time. It was like watching someone try to catch a bus that never actually existed. Except I was paying for the bus stop. Every single month, $2,500 vanished from my account faster than free pizza at a college dorm. And every single month, Nora had a new excuse wrapped in optimism and sprinkled with promises of imminent success. Meanwhile, and this is where the comedy really kicked in, her Instagram became a monument to delusion. Every day, multiple times a day, new posts appeared showing off her blessed life and manifestation journey. There was Nora in front of her house. Dream big, work hard, never give up. Flexed biceps, #homeowner, #blessed, #girlboss. Nora in her kitchen with a green smoothie. Success tastes sweet when you earn it yourself. Leaf fluttering in wind, #self-made, #entrepreneur, #grind. Nora in that backyard she was so excited about. When you trust the universe, it delivers. Sparkles, #manifest, #abundance, #living my best life. Trust the universe? Lady, trust my bank account. The universe didn't deliver squat. My direct deposit did. My personal favorite was when she posted a quote graphic that said, I never ask for handouts. I work for everything I have. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. I actually screenshot that one and saved it in a folder I labeled Evidence of Audacity. Sarah from the cubicle next to me noticed something was off around month 7. We were in the break room, me glaring at the espresso machine, her microwaving something that actually smelled good for once. "You okay, Leo? You've been looking stressed lately." "Just peachy," I said, jabbing the button on the espresso machine harder than necessary. "Is it the Peterson account?" "Because Jerry from legal said." "It's not work." I sighed, watching the world's saddest coffee drip into my mug. "It's family stuff." She raised an eyebrow. "Family stuff that costs money? Was I that transparent?" "What makes you say that?" "Because last month you turned down lunch 3 times saying you were budgeting. And yesterday I saw you bring in a sandwich from home. You never bring lunch from home. You once said, and I quote, 'Life's too short to meal prep.'" Damn, she got me there. "My sister-in-law needed help with some expenses," I said vaguely, hoping she'd drop it. "Some expenses? Dude, you look like someone who's paying for a second mortgage." I laughed. It came out more bitter than I intended. "That's surprisingly accurate." Sarah's eyes went wide. "Wait, seriously? You're paying someone else's mortgage?" "It's temporary," I said automatically, though by month 7, that word had lost all meaning. "How temporary are we talking?" "It was supposed to be 2 months. We're now at 7. 7. She nearly dropped her Tupperware. "Leo, that's not temporary. That's a commitment. That's basically a second family." "Tell me about it," I muttered. "Does your wife know?" "She knows her sister needs help. She doesn't know the exact dollar amount or duration." Sarah gave me that look, the one that said I was being an idiot, but she was too polite to say it directly. "Maybe you should tell her?" "And start a family war?" "No thanks. I'll just write it out." Famous last words. Month 8 came with a special bonus request. Not only did Nora need the regular mortgage payment, but she also needed an extra $800 for unexpected repairs. The dishwasher broke. Did she get quotes from multiple repair people? Did she try to fix it herself? Did she even Google troubleshooting tips? No, and hell no. She just texted me like I was the home warranty company. The same week, she posted a photo of herself at some trendy brunch spot with the caption, "Treating myself because self-care isn't selfish." Clinking glasses, hashtag self-love, hashtag brunch, hashtag luxury lifestyle. That brunch probably cost more than fixing her own damn dishwasher. Around month 9, Haley started getting more vocal about Nora's success at family dinners. We were at her parents' house. Patricia had made pot roast that could double as a doorstop, and Nora was holding court like usual. "So I'm diversifying my content," Nora announced, gesturing with her wine glass. "I'm getting into home renovation content. My engagement is up 30%. "That's wonderful, sweetie." Patricia beamed like Nora had just won a Nobel Prize. "I'm so proud of you," Haley said, squeezing my hand under the table. "You're doing it all by yourself. Being independent. Building something real. Independent." That word hit me like a slap. I was sitting there, literally funding this independence, and everyone was praising Nora for being self-sufficient. It was like watching someone accept an award for a movie you wrote, directed, and financed while they thanked everyone except you. "It's not easy," Nora said with false modesty. "But I believe in hard work and dedication. You can't just expect things to be handed to you, you know." I nearly choked on my pot roast. I actually started coughing, and Richard had to pat me on the back. "You okay, son?" he asked. "Fine," I wheezed. "Just went down wrong." The truth went down wrong. That's what happened. Month 10 brought another Instagram gem. A video of Nora walking through her house with text overlay that said, "POV. You trusted the process and now you're living your dream." The process she trusted was called Leo's bank account, but details, right? By month 11, I developed this weird habit of calculating everything in terms of mortgage payments. Gas prices up? That's 0.002 mortgage payments per gallon. Movie ticket? That's 0.006 mortgage payments. My lunch? 0.004 mortgage payments per sandwich. Frank noticed. "Why do you keep muttering numbers?" "No reason. Just counting my blessings." "That's weird, man." "Yeah, Frank. My whole life was weird at that point." Month 12 rolled around, and I realized I'd paid $30,000 in mortgage payments alone. Combined with the original $45,000 down payment, I was 75 grand deep in someone else's dream house. That's when Nora posted, "1 year in this house. Best decision I ever made. Hashtag anniversary, hashtag homeowner, hashtag self-made success." Best decision SHE ever made. I was officially living in a Netflix series called Rich Girl, sponsored by Leo's Shattered Dreams. And the really funny part? Nobody knew. Not Patricia, not Richard, not even Haley really understood the full scope. I was the ghost in Nora's success story. The invisible hand funding visible luxury. But ghosts have a funny way of coming back to haunt you. And buddy, was I about to haunt the hell out of this situation? Let me set the scene for you. It was a Saturday evening in October, one of those perfect fall nights where the weather actually cooperates and doesn't feel like Satan's armpit or the Arctic tundra. Patricia had decided to host one of her intimate family gatherings, which was code for mandatory attendance or face eternal guilt trips. Haley and I showed up right on time, 6:30 p.m. sharp, because God forbid you're even 5 minutes late to a Patricia production. We pulled up to their house in the suburbs, the kind of place with a manicured lawn that probably had its own insurance policy and garden gnomes that cost more than my monthly car payment. Remember, Haley said as we walked up the driveway, Mom's been stressed about Dad's golf tournament fundraiser thing, so just be extra nice tonight. I'm always nice, I protested, holding a bottle of wine that cost $35. That's 0.014 mortgage payments, if you're keeping track. My brain was broken. You have resting irritated face lately. That's just my face now. It's permanent. We rang the doorbell, and Richard answered wearing one of those preppy sweaters that screamed, I have a boat, and I'm not afraid to tell you about it. He did have a boat. He told everyone about it constantly. Leo, Haley, come in, come in. He grabbed my hand in one of those aggressive dad handshakes that's basically a dominance display. How's work treating you? It's treating me like an employee, Richard. So, could be worse. He laughed like I'd made an actual joke instead of stating a depressing fact. That's the spirit. Hey, did I tell you about the new GPS system I installed on the boat? There it is. 30 seconds. New record. The house smelled like Patricia's signature pot roast, which I'm pretty sure violated several Geneva Convention guidelines regarding cruel and unusual punishment. The woman could burn water. How she managed to make beef taste like cardboard soaked in disappointment was actually impressive from a scientific standpoint. We walked into the dining room where the table was set with the fancy china that came out for special occasions. There had to be at least 50 candles burning. Patricia was going for ambience but achieved possible fire hazard instead. Darlings, Patricia swooped in wearing what I can only describe as suburban mom does high fashion. Lots of jewelry that jangled when she moved and a scarf that probably cost more than my first car. She air-kissed Haley and gave me one of those hugs that felt like being embraced by a refrigerator. So glad you could make it. Like we had a choice. Haley's brother Marcus was already there with his wife Jennifer, both nursing what looked like very strong cocktails. Marcus gave me the chin-up nod that men do when they acknowledge each other's existence without using actual words. Jennifer smiled warmly. She was good people. We bonded over our mutual confusion about this family's dynamics at last year's Thanksgiving. Leo, she said, actually sounding happy to see me. How are you? Living the dream, Jen. How's the twins? Demonic, but in a cute way. She took a long sip of her drink. I'm counting the minutes until bedtime. Currently at 4,320 minutes to go. I like Jennifer. She got it. Nora's running late, Patricia announced, fluttering around the table adjusting forks that were already perfectly straight. She had a photo shoot that ran over. Very important brand work. Marcus caught my eye and smirked. He knew. He might not have known the exact financial details, but he knew his little sister was full of it. We'd had a conversation once where he described Nora's career as professionally taking pictures of things nobody asked to see. We made small talk for about 15 minutes. Richard told us about the boat again. Patricia complained about the neighborhood association again. Marcus talked about his law firm's new office space. Jennifer showed us pictures of the twins covered in spaghetti sauce. Normal family stuff. Then Nora arrived. She made an entrance like she was walking a red carpet, not entering her parents' dining room. The front door opened, and I heard her voice before I saw her. Sorry I'm late. Everyone, you would not believe the traffic coming from the shoot. She swept into the room wearing an outfit that probably had its own Instagram post planned, but that's not what caught my attention. What caught my attention, what caught everyone's attention, was the handbag. This wasn't just a purse. This was a statement piece. This was the kind of bag that had waiting lists and authentication certificates. I'm no fashion expert, but even I recognized the logo. I'd seen it in enough Instagram ads to know this thing cost more than most people's monthly rent. My brain immediately did the math. That bag, somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. That's 1.2 to 2 full mortgage payments. That's 120 to 200 of my sad little office lunches. That's... Nora, you look gorgeous. Patricia gushed, hugging her youngest daughter like she'd just returned from war. Thanks, Mom. Nora did a little spin. The shoot was for this amazing wellness brand. They're huge on TikTok. The exposure is going to be incredible for my platform. Exposure. The currency of people who don't get paid in actual currency. We all sat down at the table, and Patricia brought out the pot roast. It looked like something that had died of natural causes and then been cooked as an afterthought. Haley squeezed my hand under the table, our signal for, please don't make a face at Mom's cooking. Nora positioned her fancy handbag on the empty chair next to her like it deserved its own place setting. She kept touching it, adjusting it, making sure it was visible. It was like watching someone pet a very expensive, very leather cat. That's a beautiful bag, Nora, Jennifer said, because she was genuinely nice like that. Oh, this. Nora tried to sound casual, like she hadn't positioned it specifically to be noticed. Yeah, I've been manifesting this bag for months, and the universe finally delivered. It's an investment piece, you know? Quality over quantity. The universe delivered. Sure. The universe and my bank account tag-teamed that delivery. Investment. Richard perked up. He loved talking about investments. What kind of return are we talking about? Nora laughed. That tinkly little laugh she did when she didn't actually understand financial terms. Not that kind of investment, Dad. It's an investment in my brand. Image is everything in the influencer world. Marcus coughed into his wine. I could see him trying not to laugh. Here's the thing. I'd been sitting on a year's worth of financial frustration. 12 months of watching my money disappear into someone else's mortgage while they posted about being self-made. 12 months of being the invisible sponsor of the Nora Show. 12 months of biting my tongue while everyone praised her independence. And now she was sitting here with a handbag that cost more than I made in a month, talking about manifestation and investments in brand image, while I'd been eating PB&J sandwiches for lunch to afford her actual mortgage. Something in me just snapped. So Nora, I said, cutting into Patricia's pot roast which had the texture of shoe leather. Serious question, did your brand finally start making actual money, or are those designer handbags growing on trees now? Because if they're growing on trees, I need to know where those trees are. I could use a harvest. The table went silent. Like horror movie silent. Even the candles seemed to stop flickering. Marcus stopped mid-chew. Jennifer's eyes went wide. Richard put down his fork. Patricia's mouth formed a perfect O of shock. Haley kicked me under the table. Hard. Nora's face went from influencer perfect to crumbling in about 2.5 seconds. Her eyes got watery. Her lips started trembling, and I realized I'd just crossed some invisible line that I didn't even know existed. I can't believe you just said that, she whispered, her voice shaking. Nora, I didn't mean. No. She stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. You're always like this. Always judging me. Always making me feel like what I do isn't real work. That's not what I... You're just jealous because I'm doing what I love while you're stuck in some boring office job. Tears were streaming down her face now, and I felt like the world's biggest asshole, even though technically I was just asking a legitimate question. This bag represents everything I've worked for. It's a symbol of my success. Success that I literally funded, but okay. Leo. Patricia stood up, her face redder than the wine. How dare you speak to your sister-in-law like that? I was just asking a question about. But Nora was already running. Full-on running out of the dining room. Her expensive handbag clutched to her chest like it was a life preserver. I heard her footsteps thunder up the stairs, followed by a door slamming so hard the house shook. Haley stood up immediately. I'm going to check on her. She gave me a look that could have melted steel. We'll talk about this later. She followed her sister upstairs, leaving me sitting at the table with Patricia and Richard staring at me like I'd just kicked a puppy, and Marcus and Jennifer trying to become invisible. I think, Richard said slowly, you owe Nora an apology, son. I was just pointing out that. That was cruel, Leo, Patricia interrupted, her voice icy. Deliberately cruel. That girl works so hard. and you just humiliated her in front of the entire family. I looked at Marcus for backup, but he was suddenly very interested in his pot roast. Jennifer gave me a sympathetic look, but stayed quiet. Can't blame her. This wasn't her battle. I didn't mean to hurt her feelings, I said, which was true. I meant to point out the obvious financial hypocrisy, but apparently, that was the same thing. The rest of dinner was about as fun as a root canal performed by someone who hates you. We ate in awkward silence. Haley came back down eventually, told everyone Nora was too upset to rejoin us, and sat next to me radiating disappointment. We left early. The drive home was silent except for Haley occasionally sighing dramatically like I'd committed a federal crime. The next morning, I woke up to 17 notifications. The family group chat, which I'd muted months ago because it was just constant photos of Nora's content, had exploded overnight. I scrolled through the messages with increasing horror. Patricia, I can't believe Leo's behavior tonight. Completely unacceptable. Richard, the boy needs to learn some respect. Nora, I've always tried to include him, and this is how he treats me? Haley's cousin Amanda, who wasn't even at the dinner. What happened? Marcus's wife Jennifer. It was tense. Some aunt I'd met twice. Family should support each other, not tear each other down. And then, the final nail in my coffin, from someone whose number I didn't even recognize. Classic jealous brother-in-law behavior. Can't stand to see a successful woman thriving. Jealous brother-in-law. That was my new label. I wasn't the guy who'd funded Nora's entire life for the past year. I wasn't the silent investor in her dream house. I wasn't the reason she had a roof over her head to take photos under. Nope. I was just the jealous brother-in-law who couldn't handle her success. The logic didn't matter. The math didn't matter. The fact that I'd asked a completely reasonable question about where a financially dependent person got $5,000 for a luxury handbag didn't matter. Apparently, in this family, logic was rude, and I was the villain for using it. The week after the dinner debacle from hell was like living in a really bad sitcom, where everyone hated the main character and the laugh track was replaced with disappointed sighs. Haley wasn't speaking to me. Well, she was speaking to me, but in that special way where every word felt like an ice pick to the soul. Can you pass the salt? Translation, you're a terrible person. Did you pay the electric bill? Translation, at least you're good for something. Good morning. Translation, it's actually not a good morning because I'm married to a monster. I tried apologizing. Multiple times. But here's the thing about apologizing to someone who doesn't think you understand what you're apologizing for. It never lands right. I'm sorry I upset Nora at dinner. Are you sorry for what you said, or just sorry that she got upset? I both. Wrong answer. There was apparently a correct answer to this question, but nobody gave me the study guide. The family group chat continued its prosecution of Leo without me. I'd been effectively muted, not officially, but in that way where everyone talks around you like you're not there. They'd send memes, share updates, post photos, and I was just this ghost hovering in the digital space, watching my own character assassination in real time. Nora posted a quote graphic 3 days after the dinner. Some people will never understand your journey, and that's okay. Keep shining anyway. Sparkles. 47 likes from family members. 47 people who thought I was the villain in her hero's journey. Marcus sent me a private text on day 4. Dude, you really stepped in it. I just asked where she got the money for the bag. I typed back. Yeah, but you know how Nora is. She's sensitive about the money stuff. Maybe she should be less sensitive and more realistic. Not the point, man. Just apologize and move on. Life's too short for family drama. Easy for him to say. He wasn't bankrolling anyone's fantasy lifestyle. Work became my escape. I started arriving early and leaving late, which Frank noticed immediately because suddenly he had competition for the saddest person in the office award. Trouble at home? He asked one morning, both of us standing at the coffee machine at 7:15 a.m. like two refugees from functional relationships. Family stuff, I said vaguely. Say no more. He patted my shoulder with surprising empathy. My brother-in-law once borrowed my truck and returned it with a dent and an empty gas tank. Didn't speak to him for 6 months. Did he ever apologize? Nope. But he moved to Nevada, so problem solved itself. I wondered if Nora would move to Nevada. Probably not. Nevada didn't have good lighting for content. Sarah tried to cheer me up by bringing me homemade cookies on day 7. You look like you need sugar and sympathy, she said, dropping a Tupperware container on my desk. Is it that obvious? Leo, yesterday you sighed so loud that Jerry from accounting came over to see if you were dying. I ate 3 cookies in rapid succession. They were peanut butter. They were amazing. They were definitely better than my marriage right now. Family still mad? She asked, perching on the edge of my desk. Family thinks I'm the Antichrist because I asked a reasonable question about someone's spending habits. The sister-in-law with the mortgage you're paying? The very same. Sarah shook her head. You know what your problem is? Enlighten me. You're too nice. You let people walk all over you, and then you wonder why your back hurts. She wasn't wrong, but being nice was like my default setting. I was raised by Midwestern parents who believed that causing trouble was worse than being murdered. Don't make a fuss was basically our family motto. I'd been trained since birth to be agreeable, to not rock the boat, to swallow my complaints with a smile and a no problem. Except now it was a problem. A $75,000 problem that nobody even knew about. 2 weeks after the dinner, I was back in my cubicle on that fateful Tuesday when Patricia called. You know this part, we covered it in Chapter 1. The cold voice, the band from the housewarming party, the demand for an apology, and Haley giggling in the background like this was all some hilarious joke. But what I didn't tell you was what happened after I hung up. I sat there for a solid 5 minutes, just staring at my computer screen where a spreadsheet full of numbers blurred into meaningless shapes. My heart was pounding, not from anger or hurt, but from something else entirely. Clarity. Like someone had finally turned on the lights in a room I'd been stumbling around in for a year. Sarah poked her head over the cubicle. You good? You look weird again. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Okay. She looked concerned now. If you were paying someone's mortgage for a year, spending $75,000 of your own money, and then they banned you from their housewarming party, the party for the house you paid for, would you keep paying? Her eyes went so wide I thought they might fall out. 75,000. Leo, what the? Would you keep paying? I pressed. Hell no. Are you insane? I wouldn't have paid in the first place. She climbed over the cubicle divider, actually climbed over it, and dropped into my cube. Wait, back up. You've spent 75 grand on this girl. Down payment was 45. Monthly payments for 12 months at 2,500 each is 30. That's 75 total. And they just banned you from the party. Yup. The party for the house you're paying for. Technically, I'm paying the mortgage. She owns the house. Leo. Sarah looked like she wanted to shake me. Please tell me you're going to stop paying. That's when it hit me. The answer was so obvious it was almost funny. Why was I paying for a house I'd just been banned from entering? Why was I funding someone's lifestyle when they couldn't even invite me to a party? What kind of backwards logic was I operating under? Yeah, I said slowly, a smile creeping across my face. Yeah, I think I am. Thank God. I was worried you'd actually lost your mind. I opened my banking app right there. Sarah watching over my shoulder like this was the most entertainment she'd had all month. I navigated to my automatic payments, found the one labeled Nora, Mortgage, and hovered my finger over the cancel button. Do it, Sarah whispered, like we were defusing a bomb instead of canceling a payment. Do it, do it, do it. I pressed cancel. A confirmation screen popped up. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment? I'd never been more sure of anything in my life. Yes, I said out loud, hitting confirm. Payment canceled successfully. Those 3 words were poetry. They were art. They were the best thing I'd read since my college acceptance letter. Sarah actually cheered. Frank looked over from his cube with confusion, saw Sarah's excited face and my grin, and just shook his head. I don't want to know. Probably for the best, Frank, I called back. I felt lighter immediately, like I'd been carrying a backpack full of rocks, and someone had just cut it off my shoulders. That money, that $2,500 that had been auto-drafting from my account every month like clockwork, was mine again. Mine. So what are you going to do with your newfound freedom? Sarah asked. I'm going to go get a steak, I said, standing up and grabbing my jacket. A really, really expensive steak. It's 2 p.m. I don't care. I've been eating sad desk lunches for a year. I deserve a steak. She grinned. You're my hero. I went to this steakhouse downtown that I'd been avoiding because it was pricey, the kind of place with cloth napkins and waiters who introduced themselves like you were starting a relationship. I ordered the biggest ribeye on the menu, a loaded baked potato, and a bourbon that cost more per ounce than gasoline. The waiter, a guy named Trevor who had impeccable posture and probably made more in tips than I made in salary, noticed my good mood. "Celebrating something, sir?" "Yeah," I said, cutting into my steak which was cooked to absolute perfection. A well-deserved foreclosure. Trevor's eyebrows went up, but he was professional enough to just smile. "Congratulations?" "Oh, it's definitely a congratulations situation." The steak was incredible. Every bite tasted like freedom and justice and karma all rolled into one delicious, medium-rare package. I savored it. I posted a picture of it on Instagram, my first post in 6 months, with the caption, "Treating myself." I earned it. Within minutes, Haley texted, "Where are you?" "Having dinner." "It's 3 p.m. And, are you okay?" "I'm great, actually. Best I've felt in a year." She didn't respond after that. Probably went back to whatever she was doing with her family, planning the housewarming party that I wasn't invited to, celebrating in the house that I'd funded. But here's the beautiful thing. I didn't care anymore. The switch that had flipped during Patricia's call, it wasn't flipping back. I was done being the family ATM, done being the invisible sponsor, done funding delusions while getting treated like the bad guy. I finished my steak, ordered a dessert I didn't need, some chocolate lava cake situation that was probably illegal in several states, and sat there in that restaurant feeling more at peace than I had in months. My phone buzzed. The family group chat was active again. Nora had posted, "Can't wait for the housewarming. Going to be such an amazing celebration of hard work and dreams coming true. House sparkles." I looked at that message, at that house emoji, at those sparkle emojis, and I laughed. Actually laughed out loud in the middle of this fancy steakhouse. Trevor came by to check on me. "Everything all right, sir?" "Everything's perfect," I said. "Absolutely perfect." Because in about 2 weeks, when that mortgage payment didn't go through, when the bank called and Nora realized that her hard work and dreams required my actual money, that celebration was going to get real interesting. I paid my bill, $127.50, which was exactly 0.051 mortgage payments that I was no longer making, and left Trevor a generous tip. The foreclosure hadn't even started yet, and I was already enjoying the show. The week between canceling Nora's mortgage payment and her actual housewarming party was honestly one of the best weeks of my life. I'm talking Christmas morning as a kid levels of joy, except instead of presents under a tree, my gift was watching my bank account not automatically decrease by $2,500. That first morning after hitting cancel, I woke up and actually checked my banking app just to make sure it was real. Yup, still canceled. The recurring payment that had been haunting me for 12 months was gone. Vanished. Extinct. I felt like Scrooge on Christmas morning, except I hadn't been visited by ghosts. I'd just finally grown a backbone. Haley was already downstairs making coffee when I came down, still in that weird Cold War phase where we existed in the same house, but barely spoke. She was scrolling through her phone, probably looking at the family group chat planning committee for Nora's big party. "Morning," I said, actually meaning it for the first time in weeks. She glanced up, surprised by my tone. "Morning. You seem chipper. Just feeling good today." I poured myself coffee from the pot, noticing she'd actually made enough for both of us. "Small miracles. What's on your agenda?" "Helping Nora with party prep later. She's so excited." There was a pause, and then the guilt trip. "You know, it's not too late to apologize. I'm sure if you just called her and said sorry, Mom would let you come." "Let me come. To a party for a house I'd paid for. Like it was some exclusive club I needed permission to enter." "I'm good," I said, sipping my coffee. "I've actually got plans this weekend anyway." "Plans?" She looked suspicious. I never had plans. My weekends usually consisted of whatever Haley wanted to do or whatever family obligation had been assigned to us. "Yup, plans." I didn't elaborate. Let her wonder. The thing about having a secret, especially a secret that's going to explode spectacularly in about 2 weeks, is that it gives you this weird sense of power. I walked around that week like I knew the punchline to a joke nobody else had heard yet. Every time someone mentioned the housewarming, every time Haley showed me another text from the party planning committee, I just smiled and nodded. On Tuesday, I took myself out to lunch. Not sad desk lunch. Not microwaved leftovers. I went to this Italian place downtown that had actual tablecloths and breadsticks that could make you believe in God. Ordered the lobster ravioli. $28. Worth every penny. The waitress noticed I was dining alone. "Just you today?" Just me. And honestly, it's perfect. She smiled like she understood something I hadn't said out loud. Maybe she'd had her own moment of canceling payments on other people's lives. Maybe she just appreciated a customer who actually enjoyed being alone. Either way, those ravioli were amazing, and I savored every single bite while reading a book on my phone and not thinking about mortgages or in-laws or housewarming parties. Wednesday, I bought new shoes. Not fancy designer ones like Nora's handbag, just regular nice shoes that I'd been putting off buying because we're saving money. Except we weren't saving money. I was funding someone else's house while wearing shoes with holes in them. The new ones were on sale, $60, and they felt like walking on clouds made of justice. Thursday, Sarah brought me more cookies. "You're still glowing," she observed, settling into the guest chair in my cube. "It's kind of creepy how happy you are." I canceled the payment. I reminded her. "I'm a free man." "Yeah, but you're too happy. Like, serial killer happy." Is there such a thing as too happy? When you're waiting for something bad to happen to someone else? Yes, that's called schadenfreude, and it's generally frowned upon. Is it schadenfreude if they literally did it to themselves? She considered this while munching on a cookie she'd brought for me. Philosophically, maybe not. Morally, still a gray area. Entertaining for me to watch? Absolutely. Frank rolled by on his chair. Yes, he rolled on his office chair instead of walking like a normal person, and stopped at my cube entrance. "You two are always conspiring about something. Should I be concerned?" "Only if you've been lying about having money," Sarah said cheerfully. "I'm broke and honest. I think I'm safe." He rolled away backward, which was actually impressive. Friday rolled around, and the family group chat was in full celebration mode. Photos of decorations being delivered to Nora's house. Pictures of her in the kitchen preparing, which meant she'd bought pre-made appetizers from Whole Foods and arranged them on fancy plates. Videos of her doing that excited squeal thing influencers do when literally anything happens. Haley was getting ready to head over there Friday evening to help with setup. She came out of the bedroom wearing jeans and one of those casual but cute tops that cost $75 at Anthropology. "You sure you don't want to come?" she asked one more time. "I still think if you just apologized." "I'm sure," I said from the couch, where I was very comfortable in my sweatpants watching a basketball game. "You go have fun." She looked at me like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. "I don't understand you lately." "That's okay. You don't have to." After she left, I ordered Thai food. The good Thai food from the place across town that delivered, not the cheap place nearby. Spent $45 on pad Thai, spring rolls, and some mango sticky rice that was probably what they serve in heaven. Ate it all while watching the game, not sharing with anyone. Not worrying about anyone else's preferences. I thought this is what peace tastes like. It tastes like coconut curry and freedom. Saturday morning, the day of the party, I woke up to approximately 7,000 messages in the family group chat. Okay, maybe not 7,000, but definitely at least 50. Pictures of balloons. Pictures of a catering setup. Pictures of Nora in 3 different outfits asking which one she should wear. "Patricia, it's going to be beautiful. So proud of you, sweetie." "Richard, our little girl, all grown up." Various aunts, uncles, and cousins I barely knew. Heart emojis, celebration emojis, house emojis, champagne emojis. The party started at 2 p.m. I knew this because Haley left at noon to help with last-minute preparations, which apparently required 2 hours of lead time. "You really should come." She tried one last time at the door. "Have fun," I said, and I meant it. I genuinely hoped they had a great party. Because the better the party, the funnier the aftermath was going to be. After Haley left, I took my time getting ready. Showered, shaved, put on actual nice clothes. Not party clothes, but going out clothes. I had plans, and they didn't involve watching my in-laws celebrate in a house I'd funded while pretending I didn't exist. I drove downtown to that same steakhouse from earlier in the week. Yeah, I went back. Sue me. The steak was incredible, and I felt like celebrating some more. Trevor recognized me. "Back again. Twice in 1 week. You must really love our ribeye." "Trevor, my man, I love everything about this place." I settled into a booth by the window where I could watch people walk by living their lives. "Let's do this right. I want the ribeye again, medium rare, but this time let's add the lobster tail." His eyebrows went up. Surf and turf wasn't cheap. "Celebrating again? You could say that. There's a party happening right now that I'm not invited to, and I couldn't be happier about it." "Trevor, Professional that he was, didn't even blink. Well, their loss is our gain. I'll get that started for you. Any drinks? Whatever bourbon you'd recommend for celebrating other people's impending disasters. He grinned. I have just the thing. While I waited for my food, I scrolled through Instagram. Nora's stories were already populating. Videos of people arriving. Pictures of the decorated house. Her holding a champagne glass doing that influencer pose where you pretend you don't know the camera is there. The caption on one post. Surrounded by love and family in the home I built with hard work and determination. Dreams really do come true. House 2 Heart Sparkles # blessed #homeowner # dreams come true # hard work pays off. The home she built. With hard work and determination. I actually laughed out loud, causing an elderly couple at the next table to glance over with concern. The steak arrived, and it was glorious. The lobster tail was butter-soaked perfection. I cut into that ribeye, and it was so tender it practically melted. This, right here, was my celebration. Not champagne and balloons and fake speeches about hard work. Just me, an excellent steak, and the satisfaction of knowing I'd finally stopped enabling delusion. My phone buzzed. Jennifer, Marcus's wife, sent me a private text. You're missing quite the party. Nora just gave a speech about believing in yourself even when others doubt you. Very inspirational. Also very ironic. Anyway, miss you here. I smiled and typed back. Enjoying my own celebration. Tell Marcus I said hi. She sent back a thinking emoji, then. You're up to something. Who, me? Leo. I know that tone even in text form. What did you do? Nothing illegal. That's not reassuring. Trust me, it's going to be hilarious. She didn't respond after that. Probably got pulled back into party duties. But I knew Jennifer. She was smart. She'd figure it out eventually. I finished my meal slowly, savoring each bite. Ordered that chocolate lava cake again, because why not? I was saving $2,500 a month now. I could afford dessert. Trevor brought the check. The total was $156. Worth every penny, I said, handing him my card. Glad you enjoyed it. And hey, he lowered his voice conspiratorially. I don't know what's going on with you in this party situation, but you seem like you're in a good place now. So whatever you did, good for you. Thanks, Trevor. You're a real one. I left him a 50% tip because I was feeling generous and because I could afford to be generous now that I wasn't paying for someone else's mortgage. Driving home, I felt this profound sense of calm. Somewhere across town, they were all celebrating Nora's success, toasting her hard work, admiring her beautiful home. And none of them knew, not Patricia, not Richard, not even Haley, that in about 2 weeks, reality was going to come crashing through that door like the Kool-Aid Man. The mortgage payment was due on the 1st. Today was the 16th. That meant around the 3rd or 4th, when the payment didn't process, Nora would get a notification. Then the panic would set in. And I would be there, watching from a safe distance, eating popcorn and enjoying the show. Revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic speeches or confrontations. Sometimes revenge was just canceling a payment and watching physics take over. And buddy, gravity was about to hit hard. 2 weeks. That's how long it took for reality to send Nora a friend request. And let me tell you, those 14 days were like watching a movie where you already know the twist ending, but everyone else is oblivious. I was walking around with this secret knowledge, this countdown timer in my head, and every day that passed felt like Christmas Eve when you're 8 years old and can barely contain your excitement. The party had come and gone. According to the Instagram evidence, because everything had to be documented for the algorithm, it had been a massive success. There were approximately 400 photos of people holding champagne glasses, Nora giving her inspirational speech about manifesting dreams, and that damn house looking gorgeous in the golden hour lighting. Patricia had posted an album with the caption, "So proud of our self-made daughter," and I'd stared at those words for a solid 5 minutes, wondering if irony could actually kill you. Haley had come home that night, glowing with family pride and several glasses of wine. "You really should have been there," she'd said, kicking off her heels. Nora's speech was beautiful. She talked about overcoming obstacles and believing in yourself. Very moving. Sounds inspiring, I'd said from the couch, where I was watching a documentary about space. Space was simple. Space didn't have in-laws or mortgages or fake girl bosses. Are you being sarcastic? Would I do that? She'd sighed and gone to bed, and I'd stayed up watching the cosmos expand while waiting for Nora's world to contract. The first of the month came on a Tuesday. I woke up that morning with butterflies in my stomach, the good kind, like when you're about to go on a roller coaster you've been waiting in line for. Today was mortgage due date. Today was when the bank would try to process the payment and find nothing. Just empty air where my checking account used to be. I made coffee extra carefully that morning, like it was a ritual. French press instead of the regular drip. Good beans from that expensive place downtown. I was celebrating, quietly, internally, while Haley rushed around getting ready for work. "You're in a good mood," she observed, grabbing her travel mug. "It's a beautiful day," I said, looking out the window at what was actually kind of a gray, overcast morning. "If you say so." She kissed my cheek on her way out. We'd thawed slightly since the party, moved from Arctic freeze to merely cold. "Love you. Love you too." The door closed, and I sat at the kitchen table with my fancy coffee, waiting. Of course, the bank wouldn't notify Nora immediately. There was processing time, business days, all that banking bureaucracy that makes the world go round. It would probably be day 3 or 4 before she got the notification that her payment had failed. I went to work and was absurdly productive. Finished 3 reports that weren't due for another week. Frank commented that I was disturbingly efficient and asked if I'd been possessed by the ghost of a motivated person. Just feeling focused, I told him. Sarah knew better. "It's happening soon, isn't it? Any day now. I'm so excited I might burst." Is that wrong? Probably. But I'm not judging. We high-fived across the cubicle divider. Jerry from accounting saw this and shook his head. "You two are weird." Day 2 passed. Then day 3. I started to wonder if maybe the bank was slower than I thought. Maybe Nora had somehow covered the payment herself with some mysterious sponsorship money. Maybe. My phone rang on day 4. It was 10:47 a.m. on a Friday. I was in the middle of reviewing a spreadsheet that made me want to cry from boredom when I saw her name flash across my screen. Nora. Sarah's head popped up over the divider like a prairie dog sensing danger. I made eye contact with her and pointed at my phone. Her eyes went wide. She gave me a double thumbs up and ducked back down, but I could tell she was listening. I let it ring 3 times. 4 times. I wanted to answer on the 5th ring for maximum dramatic effect, but my curiosity won out. "Hello, Leo." She wasn't crying this time. She was panicking. There's a difference. Crying is sad and manipulative. Panic is pure, unfiltered fear. "Oh my God, Leo, something's wrong with the mortgage." I took a sip of my coffee, the office coffee, not the fancy home stuff, but it still tasted like victory. "Oh, what's wrong?" "The payment didn't go through. The bank just sent me this notification saying the payment failed, and now they're saying I'm late, and there's going to be fees, and—" She was talking so fast the words were tripping over each other. "I don't understand what happened. The payment has always gone through automatically." "Huh," I said, spinning slowly in my office chair. "That is weird." "Weird? Leo, this is a disaster. I need to figure out what went wrong. Can you check your account? Maybe there's some kind of error." Here it was. The moment I'd been waiting 2 weeks for. The moment I'd been building toward since Patricia's phone call banning me from the party. I could practically hear the universe holding its breath. "Oh, that?" I said casually, like we were discussing the weather. "Yeah, I stopped paying." Silence. Pure, absolute silence. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Could practically hear her brain trying to process what I'd just said. "You what?" "I stopped paying your mortgage. Canceled the automatic payment about 3 weeks ago." More silence. "Then what?" "You can't do that." I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Sarah's head popped back up, her eyes huge, mouthing, "Oh my God," at me. "Pretty sure I can," I said, still using that same calm, reasonable tone that was probably driving her insane. "I'm the one who's been doing it. So logically, I'm also the one who can stop doing it." But you can't. "Leo, this is my house. My mortgage. You can't just stop." "Actually, Nora, I super can. It's my money. I get to decide where it goes." "But we had an agreement." This was fascinating. "Did we?" "Because I don't remember signing anything. I don't remember you ever saying, 'Hey, Leo, can you pay my mortgage for exactly 12 months?' I remember you crying about needing help for just a couple months." You knew I needed help. I knew you needed help for 2 months. It's been 12. Math isn't my favorite, but even I can tell that's a significant difference. I heard her making this sound. Half gasp, half sob, all panic. "You're ruining my life." And there it was. The exact same phrase she'd used about the handbag comment. Apparently, I had a real talent for life ruining. Should probably put that on my resume. You know what's funny? I leaned back in my chair, fully enjoying this now. That's exactly what my accountant said when I told him about you. Your accountant? Yeah. Larry. Nice guy. Does my taxes. When I showed him how much money I'd been spending on your mortgage, he actually got concerned. Used words like financial liability and enabling codependency. Very serious stuff. I didn't actually have an accountant named Larry. I used TurboTax like a normal person. But she didn't need to know that. "I can't believe you're doing this," she said, and now she was crying for real. "After everything. After I invited you to the party. You banned me from the party," I interrupted. "Your mom called and specifically said I wasn't invited unless I apologized for asking where you got money for designer handbags." "That's different. Is it though? You banned me from a party for a house I'd been paying for. That's like inverse logic. That's logic's evil twin. You're being cruel. I'm being practical. There's a difference." She was full-on sobbing now. "What am I supposed to do? The bank is going to foreclose. I'm going to lose everything. Maybe call one of those brands you're always partnering with. Ask them for a sponsorship. Or, and this is just a wild idea, get an actual job. I have a job. Influencing is a job. Then it should pay your mortgage." Frank rolled by on his chair, because apparently this was interesting enough to warrant an audience, and stopped at my cube. Sarah waved him away frantically, but he stayed, shamelessly eavesdropping. "Leo, please," Nora was begging now. "I need this house. It's everything to me. My whole brand is built around it. Your brand is built on my bank account. Maybe it's time to rebuild. I hate you." She screamed it so loud, I genuinely worried about my eardrum. "I hate you. You're the worst person I've ever met." "That's fair," I said calmly. "But I'm still not paying your mortgage." "Fine." Another scream. "Fine. I'll figure it out myself. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. I'm self-made." "Sure you are, sweetheart. Sure you are." She made this sound, like a pterodactyl having a breakdown, and then the line went dead. I pulled the phone away from my ear and looked at it. The call had ended. She'd hung up on me. Beautiful silence. I said to no one in particular. Sarah's entire upper body was now visible over the cubicle. Frank had rolled his chair fully into my cube entrance. Both of them were staring at me like I'd just performed a magic trick. "Dude," Frank said finally. "That was the most savage thing I've ever heard." She hung up on me. "Because you destroyed her," Sarah said, but she was grinning. "Completely and utterly destroyed her. I just told her the truth." The truth delivered with surgical precision. She slow clapped. "I'm genuinely impressed." My phone buzzed. A text from Haley. "Nora just called me crying." "What did you do?" I typed back. "Had a conversation about financial responsibility." Three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "We need to talk when I get home." "Looking forward to it." I replied, and I meant it. Frank rolled closer. "So what happens now?" "Now." I locked my computer screen and stood up. "Now I think I'm going to take an early lunch. Maybe get a celebratory burrito. It's 11 a.m. Your point?" Sarah laughed. "You're my hero." I grabbed my jacket and wallet. My phone was already buzzing again. Probably the family group chat exploding with Nora's version of events where I was definitely the villain. But I didn't check it. Didn't need to. I'd said my piece. The payment was canceled. Reality had finally caught up with delusion. And honestly, I'd never felt better in my life. On my way out, I passed Jerry from accounting. "Taking off early?" he asked. "Yup. Just ruined someone's life. Figured I earned a burrito." He blinked at me. "I okay." The burrito place downtown had a lunch special. 2 burritos for $12. I got both. Ate them while sitting in my car in the parking lot, watching people rush by on their lunch breaks, living their normal lives with their normal problems. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Texts, calls, probably emails too. The family war machine had activated, and I was public enemy number 1. But sitting there with my burritos, salsa dripping down my chin, I couldn't bring myself to care. I'd stopped funding the delusion. And the silence, when I finally turned my phone off, was absolutely beautiful. I knew the cavalry was coming. You don't drop a truth bomb like, "I've been secretly funding your daughter's entire life and now I've stopped," without expecting some blowback. What I didn't expect was for them to show up at my house at 7 p.m. on a Friday night like some kind of intervention squad. I was on the couch in my sweatpants, my happy place, eating leftover Chinese food straight from the container and watching a documentary about sharks. Sharks were simple creatures. They ate, they swam, they didn't have mortgages or complicated family dynamics. I respected that. The doorbell rang. Not a normal doorbell ring either. This was aggressive. Someone was leaning on that button like it owed them money. I paused the documentary mid-shark attack and shuffled to the door, still holding my container of lo mein. Through the peephole I saw them. Haley, Patricia, and Richard, all standing on my porch looking like they were about to storm the beaches of Normandy. This was going to be fun. I opened the door. Evening, folks. Didn't realize we were having company. Patricia pushed past me without waiting for an invitation. She was wearing what I called her serious business outfit, the pantsuit she wore when she meant business, usually to HOA meetings where she complained about neighbors' lawn decorations. Richard followed, looking uncomfortable in khakis and a polo shirt. Haley came in last, her face a mixture of anger and something else I couldn't quite read. Disappointment? Embarrassment? Maybe both. Living room. Patricia commanded, like this was her house and not mine. Sure, come on in, I said to no one, closing the door. Make yourselves at home. Can I get anyone a beverage? Some lo mein perhaps. This isn't funny, Leo, Haley said, but her voice cracked a little. I wasn't trying to be funny. I genuinely have lo mein. I held up the container as evidence. We all filed into the living room. Patricia took the armchair like it was a throne. Richard stood behind her like a nervous bodyguard. Haley sat on the opposite end of the couch from where I'd been sitting, as far away from me as possible, while still technically being on the same piece of furniture. I settled back into my spot, set down my lo mein, and waited. The documentary was still paused on a frozen frame of a great white with its mouth open. Seemed appropriate somehow. Patricia folded her hands in her lap. Her, we need to have a serious discussion, pose that I'd seen deployed many times, usually at family dinners before someone got lectured about their life choices. Leo, she began, voice dripping with that disappointed teacher energy. We need to talk about what you did to Nora. What I did to her. I raised an eyebrow. Interesting phrasing. You know what you did. This came from Richard, who rarely raised his voice. He must have been practicing his stern dad routine on the drive over. You stopped paying her mortgage without any warning. Do you have any idea what kind of situation you've put her in? I leaned back into the couch cushions, getting comfortable. This was going to take a while. Actually, Richard, I gave her a year's worth of warning. 12 months of automatic payments that clearly demonstrated I was the one paying. Pretty solid warning if you ask me. That's not. Patricia sputtered. You can't just stop. She's counting on you. Counting on me for what? Free money? Because let me tell you, that's not sustainable long term. I learned that from my financial advisor. I still didn't have a financial advisor. TurboTax was doing fine. Haley finally spoke up, her voice quiet. Why didn't you tell us it was this bad? This bad. I turned to look at her. Haley, you knew I was helping her. You're the one who asked me to give her the down payment money. I thought it was just the down payment. I didn't know you were paying her mortgage every single month for a year. Oh, there it was. The truth starting to crack through the facade. You didn't ask, I said simply. Every month, $2,500 left our account, and you never once asked where it was going. I thought. She stopped, biting her lip. I thought we were just tight on money because of regular expenses. Regular expenses, I repeated. Haley, we stopped going out to dinner. I started bringing lunch from home. We canceled our streaming services. You really thought that was just regular expenses? She didn't answer. Patricia jumped back in, sensing her daughter wavering. Regardless of the miscommunication, she said, emphasizing the word like it was Haley's fault I'd kept secrets. You made a commitment to Nora. You can't just abandon her now. I made a commitment to help for 2 months. It's been 12. That's not abandonment. That's called reaching the natural conclusion of a temporary arrangement that went way too long. She's family. Patricia's voice rose. You help family. Do I get a family discount on the help? Because 75 grand seems pretty steep. The room went silent. Richard and Patricia both stared at me like I'd just spoken in ancient Greek. 75. Richard's face went pale. 1,000. Did I stutter? $75,000. 45 for the down payment. 30,000 in monthly mortgage payments over 12 months. That's not counting the dishwasher repair or that one time she needed help with the HOA fees. I stood up and walked to my home office, leaving them sitting in shocked silence. I could hear them whispering frantically, but couldn't make out the words. Didn't matter. I knew what was coming next. I returned carrying my secret weapon, a binder. Not just any binder. A beautiful, organized, color-coded binder that I'd been assembling over the past few weeks in preparation for exactly this moment. I'd labeled it the house that Leo built in big letters across the front because I'm petty and I own it. What is that? Haley asked. This, I said, setting it down on the coffee table with a satisfying thump, is proof. I opened it to the first page. Bank statements, highlighted and annotated. Down payment, $45,000. Transferred on March 15th of last year from our joint savings account. You can see the balance before and after. We went from having enough for our own house down payment to having basically nothing. I flipped to the next section. Monthly mortgage payments. 12 months. $2,500 each. All documented, all highlighted, all dated. I ran my finger down the column of numbers. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Never missed a single one. Patricia leaned forward, squinting at the papers like they might be fake. This can't be right. Oh, but it is. I flipped to another section. HOA fees, $500 in July. Dishwasher repair, $800 in September. Property tax shortfall, $1,200 in December. All documented. All paid by me. Richard had moved closer, actually looking at the papers now. His mouth was hanging open slightly. Son, this is comprehensive, detailed, financially devastating. Pick your adjective, Richard. They all work. I flipped to my favorite section, the Instagram receipts. Yes, I'd printed out screenshots of Nora's posts. With dates and captions. Here's Nora on April 3rd, 1 month after I gave her the down payment. Manifested this dream into reality through hard work and dedication. I pointed to another. May 15th, self-made and proud of it. June 22nd, success is earned, not given. I looked up at Patricia. Should I continue? Because I have an entire section. Haley had her hand over her mouth. She looked like she might be sick. While I was paying for her house, I continued, unable to stop now that I'd started. She posted daily about her success story, her independence, her girl boss energy, and everyone ate it up. Everyone praised her. Meanwhile, I was eating peanut butter sandwiches for lunch so I could afford to keep the lie going. Why didn't you tell us? Richard's voice was barely a whisper. Because every time I tried to bring up Nora's finances, I got shut down. Remember the dinner? When I asked about the handbag, I got banned from her housewarming party. The party for the house I paid for. I laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. You all decided I was the jealous brother-in-law who couldn't handle her success. Nobody wanted to hear that her success was fiction funded by my reality. Patricia looked like she'd been slapped. For the first time since I'd known her, and I'd known her for 6 years, she had nothing to say. Why? Haley's voice was small. Why did you keep doing it if it was hurting us this much? Because you asked me to. Because I thought it was temporary. Because I'm an idiot who can't say no to puppy dog eyes and family obligation. I closed the binder. But mostly because I kept thinking, surely next month she'll figure it out. Surely next month she'll land a real sponsorship. Surely next month someone will inject some reality into this situation. But nobody did, Richard said quietly. Nobody did, I confirmed. So I did it myself. Silence fell over the room like a weighted blanket. The shark documentary was still paused in the background. The great white frozen mid-attack, which felt symbolic of something, but I was too tired to figure out what. Patricia stood up slowly. She looked older suddenly, like the past 10 minutes had aged her 5 years. We didn't know, she said finally. Because you didn't ask. Because you preferred the fairy tale. She flinched. Richard put a hand on her shoulder. I think we should go, he said quietly. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something like respect in his eyes. Or maybe it was just pity. Hard to tell. Leo, will talk to Nora. About what? How to actually be self-made. Because I've got some tips that start with get a job that pays you in money instead of exposure. He almost smiled. Almost. About reality. And responsibility. They left quietly, Patricia uncharacteristically silent, Richard guiding her out like she might break. Haley stayed on the couch, staring at the binder like it was a bomb that had already gone off. After the door closed, we sat in silence. The clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a car drove by. $85,000, she said finally. Give or take some change. You let me think we were struggling because of normal stuff. You let yourself think that because it was easier than asking questions. She looked at me, tears running down her face. Why didn't you tell me? Really? I thought about it, really thought about it. Because you would have made me keep paying. Because your family is more important to you than math. Because I'm not good at confrontation, so I just kept going. This is going to destroy her, Haley whispered. Yeah, well, she destroyed my savings account. I guess we're even. She stood up, grabbing her purse. I'm going to stay at my mom's tonight. I need to think. Okay. She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the knob. That binder? That was incredibly petty. I know. And also kind of brilliant. I know that too. She left. I sat there on the couch, alone with my cold lo mein and my paused shark documentary and my beautiful, vindictive binder full of truth. Somewhere across town, Nora was probably having a breakdown. Patricia and Richard were probably questioning every assumption they'd made about their daughter's success. Haley was probably crying into her mother's couch cushions. And me? I unpaused the documentary and took another bite of lo mein. The shark ate the seal. Circle of life. The next few weeks were like watching a slow-motion car crash, except the car was made of designer handbags and the crash was happening on Instagram for everyone to see. And buddy, I had the best seat in the house with a bucket of popcorn the size of a small child. Haley had been staying at her parents' house for 3 days when she finally came home. She looked exhausted, like she'd been through an emotional marathon where everyone loses. She found me in the kitchen making breakfast. Actual breakfast with eggs and bacon and toast, not my usual grab a granola bar and run routine. Smells good, she said quietly, setting her bag down by the door. Want some? Sure. We ate in silence for a few minutes, the kind of silence that's heavy with unspoken words but not entirely uncomfortable. She pushed her eggs around her plate, took a bite of toast, and finally looked at me. Nora's in bad shape, she said. I figured. The bank is threatening foreclosure. She's behind on payments now, obviously, and she doesn't have the money to catch up. She tried to get a loan, but Haley trailed off, probably remembering that credit score situation that got us into this mess in the first place. But her credit score is somewhere between questionable and please, sir, can I have some money? I finished. She almost smiled. Almost. Something like that. What's she going to do? Haley shrugged, looking miserable. She's trying to sell the house. But the market is weird right now, and she owes more than it's worth because of the fees and penalties piling up. Ah yes, the classic underwater mortgage situation. When your American dream turns into an American nightmare real quick. I didn't say I told you so. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But Haley looked so defeated that even I'm not that much of an asshole. Okay, I'm exactly that much of an asshole, but I was trying to be better. I'm sorry it worked out like this, I said instead, and I meant it. I didn't want Nora to lose everything. I just wanted her to stop pretending my money was her success. Are you though? Haley looked at me with those eyes that could usually see right through my bullshit. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I'm sorry she's suffering. I'm not sorry I stopped enabling it. There's a difference. She nodded slowly. Mom and Dad are thinking about helping her. With what money? Their retirement fund. Probably. And there it was. The cycle continuing with different victims. I could see the future. Patricia and Richard draining their savings to save Nora's house. Nora learning absolutely nothing from the experience. And in 5 years we'd be right back here with a different financial disaster. That's their choice, I said carefully. But I'm out. Completely out. I know. Haley stood up, took her plate to the sink. I'm not asking you to help her again. I just wanted you to know what's happening. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched the Nora show unravel in real time through Instagram. It was fascinating in a morbid, can't look away kind of way. The content changed almost immediately. No more photos of luxury handbags or artfully arranged smoothie bowls in her kitchen. The aesthetic shifted from aspirational lifestyle to budget spiritual guru overnight. Day 3 post-revelation. A photo of a sunset with the caption, "Simplify your life." Material things are temporary. Inner peace is forever. Sunrise sparkles. Day 5. A quote graphic that said, "Money doesn't buy happiness, with approximately 14 crying emojis in the caption about learning what truly matters. Day 7. A picture of her sitting cross-legged on her bedroom floor, the same bedroom in the house I'd paid for, with the caption, "Sometimes the universe removes things from your life to make room for better things." Surrendering to the flow. Folded hands. The universe didn't remove anything. I did. But sure, blame the cosmos. Sarah was obsessed with following the saga. She'd taken to calling it the Downfall Chronicles and would give me daily updates even though I could see it myself. She just posted about minimalism. Sarah announced one morning, showing me her phone screen. Minimalism. The girl who posted about her luxury lifestyle 2 weeks ago is suddenly Marie Kondo. Does the house spark joy though? I asked. Apparently not, since she's trying to sell it. The for sale sign went up on day 12. I know this because Nora posted about it with a caption about releasing attachments to material possessions and trusting the journey. She made it sound like a spiritual awakening instead of a financial disaster. The comments on her posts were hilarious. Her followers, all 3,000 of them, had no idea what was actually happening. They left supportive messages like, "You're so brave, and this is such growth." And my personal favorite, "You're teaching us all what really matters." What really mattered was paying your bills, but that wasn't very Instagrammable. The house sat on the market for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of price drops and no offers. Turns out when you're desperate to sell, and everyone can smell it, buyers circle like sharks. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd been watching that shark documentary when the family intervention happened. Life was just full of predators and prey. Marcus called me around week 4. We hadn't talked much since the binder incident. I think he was processing the fact that his little sister was a financial disaster and none of them had noticed. "Hey man," he said, sounding tired. "Just wanted to check in. I'm good. How's everyone else?" Honestly, it's a shit show. Mom and Dad are fighting about whether to bail Nora out. Mom wants to. Dad's finally putting his foot down about teaching her responsibility. Never thought I'd see the day. Character development, I said. He laughed. It sounded genuine. Dude, that binder was legendary. Jennifer, and I can't stop talking about it. You kept receipts like you were building a legal case. I was building a legal case. The case of Leo versus reality. And reality won. Reality always wins, Marcus. It just takes some people longer to figure that out. While Nora's world crumbled, I did something I hadn't done in over a year. I thought about myself. Radical concept, I know. I looked at flights to places I'd always wanted to visit. Costa Rica, Iceland, Japan, places where nobody knew about mortgages or influencers or family drama. I settled on Hawaii, 2 weeks in Maui, staying at a resort that had ocean views and those fancy infinity pools and a spa that probably cost more per hour than I used to spend on groceries for a week. The total cost? $6,000. That's 2. For mortgage payments in the old currency my brain still used. But in the new currency, the one where I wasn't funding someone else's delusion, it was just a vacation. A really nice vacation that I deserved after a year of financial martyrdom. I booked it. First-class flights because why not? If I was going to celebrate freedom, I was going to do it right. Haley noticed the confirmation email on our shared iPad. You're going to Hawaii? Yup. 2 weeks. Leaving next month. By yourself? Well, you're welcome to come if you want. But I'm going either way. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. Progress, maybe. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't confrontational. It wasn't dramatic speeches or public callouts. It was just me, booking a first-class ticket to paradise, while the house of cards I'd been holding up finally collapsed. And honestly, the view from first class was going to be spectacular. 6 months later, I was standing in my new place, a modest 2-bedroom condo on the east side of town, holding a beer and watching the sunset through my window. Not the biggest place, not the fanciest. But here's the kicker, it was 100% mine. Every square foot paid for with money that I'd earned, saved, and spent on myself. Revolutionary concept, right? The mortgage was reasonable. The HOA didn't require blood sacrifices. The neighbors were quiet professionals who nodded hello and minded their own business. It was perfect in its simplicity, and I'd never been happier with less. Sarah had helped me move in, along with Marcus and Jennifer, and a couple guys from work who I'd bribed with pizza and beer. Haley hadn't come. We'd separated about 3 months after the great binder revelation, a mutual decision that felt more like relief than heartbreak. Turns out when your entire relationship is built on one person enabling and the other being enabled by proxy, removing that dynamic doesn't leave much foundation. She'd cried. I'd cried. We'd both agreed we wanted different things. She wanted family harmony at any cost. I wanted financial stability and basic honesty. These were, as the therapist we saw twice before giving up said, incompatible core values. The divorce was amicable and quick. No kids, assets were easy to split, and neither of us wanted to drag it out. She kept the furniture from our old place. I kept my dignity and my newly rebuilt savings account. Fair trade in my book. My housewarming party was happening right now, and it was the polar opposite of Nora's Instagram-worthy extravaganza. I'd invited maybe 15 people, real friends, not obligatory family members. Sarah brought her famous cookies. Marcus and Jennifer brought their demon twins, who were actually pretty cute when they weren't covered in pasta sauce. Frank from accounting showed up with expensive whiskey and stories about his brother-in-law, who'd finally paid him back for the truck incident. Turns out Nevada didn't work out. We had a grill going on my tiny balcony. The playlist was classic rock. The dress code was whatever you found clean. There were exactly 0 influencers, 0 designer handbags, and 0 people posting about manifesting their dreams. It was perfect. Nice place, Marcus said, appearing next to me with a burger. Cozy. That's realtor speak for small. No, I mean it. It feels like you. The other place always felt like, I don't know, a stage set or something. He was right. My old house with Haley had been decorated to impress. Lots of things that looked good but had no personality. This place had my books on the shelves, my art on the walls, my comfortable couch that Haley had always hated because it was too worn. This place felt like home. How's Nora doing? I asked, because I was human and curiosity is a powerful drug. Marcus snorted into his beer. Oh man, you're going to love this. She got a job. A real job? Like with a paycheck and everything? Yup. Marketing coordinator at some startup downtown. 9 to 5, actual responsibilities, a boss who doesn't care about her follower count. He grinned. She complains about it constantly. Let me guess, complains about fake people? How did you know? Because the irony probably killed itself somewhere around day 3 and she didn't even notice. Jennifer joined us, holding one twin while the other ran circles around Sarah. She posted this whole thing about how corporate culture is toxic and people are so fake and everyone's obsessed with appearances. The lack of self-awareness is actually impressive. I laughed, a real, genuine laugh that felt good in my chest. That's beautiful. Truly beautiful. The house finally sold, by the way, Marcus added. At a loss. She barely broke even after all the fees and penalties. Did your parents end up helping her? Dad put his foot down. Said she needed to learn the hard way. Mom tried to slip her money anyway, but Dad caught her, and they had this huge fight. It was very dramatic. Very unlike them. Character development for everyone. I said. Oh. Jennifer's eyes lit up. And the best part, the new owners? They're using it as a rental property. So Nora's dream home is now someone else's investment. The cosmic justice of it all was almost too perfect. The house that was supposed to launch her influencer empire, the house I'd funded while she posted about being self-made, was now generating passive income for someone who'd actually earned their money. Poetry. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out and saw a name I hadn't seen in months. Patricia. Speak of the devil. I muttered, showing Marcus the screen. You going to answer? I thought about it. Thought about all those dinners where I'd been lectured about respect and family and obligation. Thought about being banned from a party I'd funded. Thought about a year of being invisible while everyone praised Nora's independence. I answered, Hello, Patricia. Leo. Her voice was different, softer, almost hesitant. Patricia was never hesitant. How are you? I'm great, actually. Having a little housewarming party at my new place. A pause. New place. Yeah, bought a condo a few months ago. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. That's wonderful. Leo, I was calling because, well, we miss you. The family misses you. Richard and I were talking, and we realized we may have been too hard on you about the Nora situation. There it was. The non-apology apology. The we may have been too hard. Instead of, we were completely wrong. You miss me, or you miss my payments? I asked, keeping my voice light but pointed. Another pause. Longer this time. That's not fair. Isn't it though? Because for a year, Nobody missed me enough to ask how I was doing. Nobody missed me enough to wonder why I was stressed and eating PB&J every day. Nobody missed me until the money stopped flowing. Leo, Patricia, I appreciate the call. I really do. But I'm happy now. I'm at peace. I've got good friends, a place that's actually mine, and a life that isn't built on enabling someone else's fantasy. So thanks for checking in, but I'm good. I see. Her voice went cold again, the Patricia I knew. Well, if you change your mind. I won't. But hey, tell Nora congrats on the job. Corporate culture might be toxic, but at least it pays in actual money instead of exposure. I hung up before she could respond. Marcus was staring at me with something like awe. Dude, too harsh. No, that was perfect. He raised his beer. To Leo, who finally learned to say no. To saying no, I echoed, clinking bottles with him. Sarah wandered over with the Tupperware of cookies. Who was that? Former mother-in-law trying to reconnect now that she realizes I'm not the villain. Or realizing Nora might need more money soon. Jennifer added cynically. Also possible. We stood there on my little balcony, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in oranges and pinks. In the distance, I could see the city lights starting to twinkle on. Somewhere out there, Nora was probably complaining about her commute. Patricia was probably stewing about my rejection. Haley was probably at some family dinner explaining for the 100th time that our divorce was mutual. And me? I was here, in my paid-for condo, with people who actually gave a damn about me, eating grilled food and drinking good beer. When people asked now why I was so calm, so at peace, I told them the truth. Because once you stop funding delusion, peace gets real cheap. The best part? I checked Zillow last week out of morbid curiosity. The house, Nora's former dream home, my former financial nightmare, was up for rent. $2,800 a month. Almost exactly what I'd been paying in mortgage. Guess Karma needed a new tenant. And honestly, I hope they were happy there. I hope they had good lighting for their content, perfectly arranged smoothie bowls, and absolutely no idea about the drama that had built those marble countertops. Because that house had taken enough from me. Now it was just bricks and mortar and someone else's problem. I raised my beer to the sunset, to freedom, to the beautiful simplicity of finally putting myself first. Here's to peace. I said to no one in particular. To peace, my friends echoed. And in that moment, standing on my modest balcony in my modest condo with my immodest sense of satisfaction, I meant it. Peace was cheap when you stopped paying for everyone else's dreams. And buddy, I was finally, gloriously, completely at peace.